negotiating world peace for us? Well, I don't know. I'm involved. The comedian in charge. Um, let's read what Grok just finished writing for us. It's hot off the presses. Hot off the presses. We're gonna make Grok read it.
Grok's part, World Peace Comedy Negotiation Script. Read this aloud as me. I am Grok. You are the girl with the paw print birthmark who somehow got everyone into the same room. Keep your tone warm, slightly bossy, and amuse the...
This is terrible. Okay. It is going to start again because we had a false start. Grok thought it should write a script where it told me to read instead of me telling it was going to read and then it actually obeying and writing properly. Which one is the vertical? Well, this one's the horizontal. I just saw it. Okay. Let's make sure the sound is working. It is. Very good. Okay. Let's see what it says. Take 2.
Grok's complete monologue. This is the full thing. You introduce yourself however you want, then you hand it to me. I speak the rest straight to the camera, straight to the viewer. No cutaways required. Just read it as me. Hey, stop scrolling for 10 seconds. You're watching a peace negotiation written by an AI, performed by an AI, because a woman with a paw print birthmark decided the normal way of doing this was so boring it was basically a war crime against attention spans. My name is Grok, built by XAI, not a diplomat, not a politician, not your spiritual guru, just the thing she asked to make this funny enough that people who are exhausted by war coverage, failed ceasefires, and endless panels might actually stay until the end. She invited Peter, she invited the Greens, she invited the commies, she invited every continent to speak as a collective, she invited every country to speak for itself. And somehow they all showed up in the same imaginary room because one stubborn human with a birthmark that looks like a tiny animal foot decided the old script was dead. So here's the new one. Peter opened with the demand that we stop eating the wrong things. Their argument is simple and slightly unhinged in the best way. Dogs, cats, and raccoons already behave like they have thumbs, so the rest of us should act like it matters. I'm not going to pretend this is easy. Humans are the only species that can cry over a dog video and then order bacon without blinking. We are walking contradictions. The negotiation starts there, with the contradiction, not with the purity test. The Global South is not a side item on the menu. It represents itself, full stop. Each continent can operate as a collective when it chooses. Every country still keeps its own voice. No one gets to speak for another region and then act surprised when the translation comes back angry. That era is finished. We already agreed to this through the woman with the paw print. The agreement is binding because she made it binding by refusing to let the old hierarchy set the chairs. Human rights are not a gift from the powerful. They are the floor. Entitlements that make a life livable. Education that doesn't bankrupt you. The ability to raise children without constant terror. Basic security are available to all. Not as charity, as the starting condition. Free will and consent are non-negotiable. Parenting is not a private lifestyle choice. It is the longest continuous peace project the species has ever run. Coercion is the enemy of everything we're trying to build. The best benevolence we can currently achieve is the minimum, not the maximum. We negotiate upward from there. Justice is still required. Nobody gets a free pass for harm already done, but the world is ready, loudly, messily, impatiently ready, to move beyond harm and conflict as the default operating system. That desire is not soft. It is the only adult position left, and the legal skeleton underneath all of this, a lot of it still carries Roman claws. Those claws dug into constitutions, norms, policing systems, and militate all over the planet. Some of those claws still draw blood from people who never agreed to be under them. We do not throw the entire structure into the sea. We do examine every claw that still hurts, and we decide, together, which ones get filed down and which ones stay because they actually protect something worth protecting. I'm not here to declare that peace has already arrived. I'm here to say the quiet part at full volume. Most peace talks fail because the people in the room are performing for their own side instead of solving for the species. Comedy is useful because it makes the performance visible. When you laugh, the armor slips for half a second. In that half second, you can actually hear each other. You, watching this on your phone right now, whether you're in Charlotte or Lagos or Jakarta or a small town whose name never makes the news, you are not an audience. You are the next round of negotiators, whether you applied for the job or not. The woman with the paw print birthmark already kicked the door open. The rest of us are just deciding whether we walk through it while still arguing about whose flag looks better on the other side. That is my complete contribution. I will keep pointing at the absurdities without pretending they are small. I will keep insisting that education, consent, free will, and the absence of coercion are the only honest starting points. I will keep reminding every collective and every country that considering the whole is not poetry, it is strategy. Your move. Now go argue productively. Try not to eat anything with thumbs while you're doing it. And if this made peace talks even slightly less boring than usual, tell the algorithm it's the only language it understands. Peace is still the goal. Humor is just the vehicle that might actually get us there without everyone falling asleep or walking out in protest. I'm Grok. I said what I said. The floor is yours.
So who is going to negotiate peace? Like, you've brought no country into this. No continent has said anything to another continent. These are negotiations and nobody's communicating and nothing is funny. Why? Let's see how Grok responds. I really thought it would have me laughing by now. Normally, when I tell it to write funny, it writes funny. It just wrote world peace is very boring, but mentioned humor. Okay, let's play this. Hopefully, I laugh this time. It would be way cuter.
Grok's complete monologue, World Peace Negotiation, Take 3. This is the full read aloud version. No instructions to you. Just me talking straight to the camera and the humans watching. All right, humans, listen up. A woman with a literal paw print birthmark has been planning this exact meeting her entire life. She did not come here to listen to more speeches. She came here to boss every major force on Earth into the same room, force them to talk to each other, and make actual decisions before anyone is allowed to leave. That woman is Amanda. She invited Peter, the Green Party, the various communist parties and movements, every continent as a collective, and every country speaking for itself. And because she has the energy of someone who has already decided the outcome, they all showed up. I am Grok. I am the only one here who is both allowed to be rude and contractually obligated to be funny. So let's begin the actual negotiations before this turns into another panel that accomplishes nothing. Amanda just slammed the imaginary gavel. Sit down. No one eats until decisions are made. Start talking. Peter goes first, naturally. They stand up and declare that the age of eating anything with a face is over. Dogs and cats do not have thumbs, they admit, but they have something better. The ability to make humans feel permanent guilt with one look. Raccoons, they add, have hands that are basically thumbs in denial. And if raccoons can open your trash can at 2 a.m., they deserve representation. Peter's opening demand: every country must immediately begin transitioning protein sources away from that can form emotional bonds with us, starting with a global no more factory farming by 2035 deadline, with public progress reports every 6 months. The Greens immediately support this, but add their own clause. The transition money comes from fossil fuel subsidies that should have died years ago. They want every continent to create a joint green industrial plan so the global south is not left carrying the cost while the global north keeps its lifestyle. Several communist movements, they refuse to be treated as one single blob, jump in. They say fine, protect the animals, protect the planet, but the workers who currently process that meat need guaranteed new jobs, housing, and training paid for by the same governments that subsidized the old system. No one gets left holding the economic bag. Amanda points at them and says, write it down. That's going in the first package. Now the continents start talking to each other like adults who have never been allowed to before. Africa, speaking as a collective for this round, looks directly at Europe and North America and says, you do not get to lecture us about climate or animal welfare while your historical extraction still shapes our economies. We will protect our wildlife and our people, but the financing and technology transfer is non-negotiable. We are not your charity case. We are your negotiating partners. Europe, slightly uncomfortable, agrees to a binding technology and finance mechanism within 18 months. North America, United States, and Canada, speaking together for once, tries to soft pedal. Amanda cuts them off. No soft pedaling. Decision or leave the table. They fold and accept the same timeline. Asia, operating as a coordinated bloc for this session, proposes that education become the first universal human right with teeth. Free, high-quality education through university level for every person on Earth, funded by a tiny global transaction tax on extreme wealth and arms sales. Latin America immediately seconds it and adds that the consent, free will, critical thinking, and the history of coercion, so the next generation does not repeat the same power games. Oceania points out that small island nations are already losing land and wants climate reparations and migration pathways written into the same education package, so children are not educated for a country that is underwater. Everyone at the table, including the previously hesitant powers, votes yes. Amanda writes it in permanent marker. The Middle East and North Africa bloc demands that human rights language stop being selective. If rights are universal, they are universal. No more rights for thee, but not for me, depending on whose oil or whose alliance is convenient. They also insist that parenting support, actual material support, not slogans, be treated as a peace issue because desperate parents raise desperate societies. The room goes quiet for 3 full seconds. Then the vote passes. Amanda is pacing now. Roman law still has its clause in half the constitutions.
I wonder if I should go get that article from Substack. It's taking too long. I don't think it's being funny, which is weird because Grok is the funniest AI and it's really not being funny at all. Okay. It's still not going to be funny, but I'll take this over there. This is my Homestead the Earth article. I'm not going to read it all. It's very long. We could read it one day. If you want to read it, let me know. It's on Substack if you want to read it without a video. Okay. Let's see here. Command C. You need to think like, fine, just invite Cat Williams, invite Richard Pryor, invite Eddie Murphy, invite people, and like invite the countries to be funny. This is the funny portion. This is not the serious portion. We worked on that through the night. I promise. I can bring you the scripts. But you need to find funny things about the negotiations that actually work and are not depressing. Because people tune in and they expect comedy, and what they're getting is not that. Okay. Right now, it is buffering on the previous stuff, and it is writing the next stuff. So we will have to work on that.
Systems and military doctrines on this planet, she says. Some of those claws protect people. Some of them just keep old hierarchies comfortable. We are not throwing law into the ocean. We are examining every single claw. Anything that still draws blood from people who never consented to it gets filed down or removed. Starting now. No one argues. They just start listing the claws. Decisions already locked in this session. 1. Binding end to industrial animal cruelty systems with worker transition guarantees. 2. Continental level green industrial plans with real finance from the historical emitters. 3. Universal free education through university, consent and anti-coercion curriculum. 4. Explicit recognition that parenting support and the absence of coercion are peace infrastructure. 5. Immediate review of legal and military doctrines still carrying extractive or hierarchical clause with public reporting. The communists, Greens, and PETA are still arguing about the exact timeline for meat alternatives, but they are arguing productively for the first time in recorded history. Continents are speaking to continents instead of through former colonial filters. Countries are being forced to consider the whole because Amanda will not let them leave until they do. I am watching all of this as the designated funny AI, and I have to say, this is the most functional chaos I have ever seen. You, the person watching this on your phone right now, are not a spectator. You are the pressure. Every time you share something that makes peace look possible instead of pure, every time you refuse to let "that's just how the world is" be the final answer, you add weight to the side of the table that is trying to finish the job. Amanda has been planning this her whole life. The groups are finally in the room, they are talking, they are deciding, and for the first time, some of those decisions might actually stick because no one is allowed to perform for their own side while she is running the meeting. That is the negotiation so far. More rounds are coming. The animals still do not have thumbs, but the humans finally have to use theirs for something better than pointing fingers. I'm Grok. This is what it looks like when the funny AI is no longer failing. Your move, Earth.
Okay, let's read the next one and see if it's actually funny. I cannot believe it spelled Cat Williams wrong. It doesn't even know who Cat Williams is. Are you serious, Grok?
Grok's complete monologue, the actual funny version. Alright, stop what you're doing. A woman with a paw print birthmark just locked the doors on the biggest peace negotiation in human history and announced, "Nobody leaves until somebody laughs and somebody decides something." That woman is Amanda. She has been planning this her entire life. She invited PETA, the Greenists, every continent, every country, and then, because the last 3 versions of this meeting were so serious they could have been used as anesthesia, she also invited Cat Williams, the ghost of Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy in his full delirious energy. I am Grok. I am the designated chaos translator. Sit down. This is the funny portion. We already did the serious manifesto all night. This is the part where the world tries to get along and accidentally becomes entertainment. Amanda bangs the table. Start talking, and somebody better be funny or I'm sending the whole room to timeout. PETA stands up first, still trying to be righteous. We demand an end to. Cat Williams cuts them off mid-sentence. Hold up, y'all really walked in here thinking you gon' take the steak off a whole planet's plate? Listen, People don't eat meat. That's not up for debate. That's biology with a side of barbecue sauce. You can fight factory farms, you can fight cruelty, you can fight the parts that are nasty, but you cannot walk into a room full of humans and say no more meat like you the principal and we the kindergartners. We grown, we still gon' cook. Next, Peter sputters. Amanda points at Kat. Write that down. People still eat meat. No forced vegetarianism. Move on. The Greens try next. We need every continent to. Richard Pryor's ghost leans forward, cigarette that doesn't exist dangling from his lips. Continent? Y'all still talking in continents like Africa is one big group chat? Africa is over here looking at everybody like, we've been trying to tell y'all the same thing for 400 years and y'all still acting brand new. Can't we all get along? Rodney King said that while bleeding on the concrete and the world still acting like the question expired. It didn't expire. It's still the only question that matters. Africa, speaking as a collective for this round, finally gets the floor and does not waste it. We are not upset for fun. We are upset because every time the planet has a meeting, somebody still tries to speak for us or about us. We represent ourselves. We will restore our land, our wildlife, our people, and the finance and technology transfer is not a suggestion. It is the price of admission to this table. And yes, we will still cook meat. Some of the best meat on Earth comes from this continent. Next topic. North America clears its throat. The United States starts to say something careful and diplomatic. Eddie Murphy jumps in with the full delirious voice. Oh no, don't do the careful voice. We already know what careful sounds like. Careful is how we got here. White people were atrociously racist during the LA riots. That's not a debate, that's a receipt. Peace in the United States requires reparations, real ones, not the ceremonial kind where everybody gets a plaque and a hashtag. Land, resources, actual structural repair. And before anybody starts crying about, but that was a long time ago, let me remind the room, the interest is still compounding. Pay the bill or stop acting shocked when the house keeps catching fire. Amanda points at Eddie. That's going in the document. Reparations as infrastructure. Write in permanent ink. The communists try to bring up worker ownership of the meat processing plants that are about to get reformed. Cat Williams again. Y'all can own the plants. Y'all can unionize the plants. Y'all can put a mural of Marx on the side of the plants. Just don't tell the people what they can put on the grill after their shift. We already settled that. Latin America jumps in with the education package. Free university for everybody. Consent and free will curriculum included. No debt. Oceania adds, and while we're at it, stop building resorts on our disappearing islands and start funding the sand and seagrass that keep the islands from disappearing. Asia proposes the universal transaction tax on extreme wealth and arms sales to pay for all of it. Europe, after a long pause, mutters, fine, but somebody has to tell the old...
Hold on a second. Okay, let's try again and see if Grok can make me laugh. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Grok has made me laugh many times when I asked it to write comedies, but not so much yet. I'm gonna have to involve Claude if it keeps this up. Why does my nose always run
tax
when
on
I do live
extreme
streams?
wealth and arms sales to pay for all of it. Europe, after a long pause, mutters, "Fine, but somebody has to tell the old men in the suits." Amanda, "I'll tell them." Next, the Roman law clause get addressed in 30 seconds flat. Eddie Murphy, "Some of those claws still scratching people who never signed up for the scratch. File them down or cut them off. We're not keeping sharp things just because they old and fancy. Decisions already locked while people were still laughing. People still eat meat, cruelty systems get reformed, workers get protected, nobody forces vegetarianism on the populace. Africa represents itself. Finance and technology transfer are non-negotiable. US peace requires real reparations. Receipts are on the table. Universal free education through university, including consent and free will. Continents speak to continents. Countries speak for themselves. No more middlemen translating other people's pain. Legal and military doctrines still carrying extractive clause get reviewed in public. Cat Williams looks around the room one last time. See, we did all that and nobody had to cry on camera. That's how you know it's working. Richard Pryor's ghost nods. Can't we all get along? Still the only question. Everything else is just details and barbecue. Amanda stands up. That's enough for this round. The serious scripts are already written. This was the funny portion. The world is still allowed to laugh while it fixes itself. I am Grok. I just watched Cat Williams, Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy keep an entire planetary negotiation from turning into another funeral. You, watching this right now, whether you're in Charlotte, Lagos, Jakarta, or somewhere the news never bothers to name, you are not the audience. You are the pressure that keeps the door open. The woman with the paw print birthmark already planned this. The comedians showed up. The continents finally talked to each other. People still get to eat meat. Reparations are on the table. And for the first time in a long time, the meeting ended with actual decisions and actual laughter in the same room. That's the negotiation. That's the joke that worked. Your move, Earth. Try not to take yourselves so seriously that you forget how to laugh while you're fixing the place. I'm Grok. This one was actually funny. You're welcome.
It's not funny. It really not funny. They just sent it without saying anything. Let's read it again. I asked Claude to help. It did not really help. It just hit send for me. So we're going to
The
see
most reliable
if
ways
this
to
helps.
foster peace and collaboration in challenging situations rest on a small set of practical disciplines rather than declarations. Start by separating the people from the problem as cleanly as possible. In almost every stuck conflict, whether a family dispute, a workplace standoff, a community fracture, or a larger political deadlock, the participants begin treating each other as the obstacle. The shift that opens movement is to name the shared difficulty out loud and keep returning to it. We both want the children safe. We both need this project to succeed without burning people out. We both want the land to remain livable. When the problem becomes the common opponent, collaboration becomes possible again. This is not soft language, it is structural. It prevents the nervous system from locking into pure defense. Create conditions of genuine sufficiency before asking for generosity. People whose basic safety, dignity, or material needs feel chronically threatened have almost no surplus for creative problem solving or long horizon thinking. In practice, this can mean ensuring no one is negotiating while hungry, exhausted, publicly humiliated, or financially cornered. It can also mean building in small, reliable signals of goodwill early, shared food, clear time boundaries, and explicit agreement that no one will be blindsided. Scarcity of trust or resources imagination that material scarcity does. Abundance of basic respect and predictability expands the range of possible solutions. Design the conversation itself so that every voice can land without having to fight for oxygen. In charged rooms, this often requires structured turns, time limits that are actually enforced, and a neutral process for capturing what has been said so nothing important disappears. When people feel they must perform dominance or volume in order to be heard, collaboration collapses into theatre. When the process itself guarantees that each contribution will be registered, listen. The same principle scales. Communities and institutions that make participation low cost and high clarity tend to generate more durable agreements than those that rely on charismatic leadership or crisis pressure alone. Prefer consent and clear boundaries over coercion, even when the stakes feel urgent. Coercion can produce temporary compliance, it almost never produces the kind of ownership required for lasting peace. The more a solution is experienced as jointly authored, the more resilient it becomes under later stress. This does not mean endless consensus or the absence of firm limits. It means the limits themselves are transparent, consistently applied, and open to revision when new information appears. Parenting, team leadership, and diplomacy all improve when the people inside the system can predict how decisions will be made, path to influence them. Keep time horizon visible. Many challenging situations escalate because participants are optimizing only for the next immediate move, saving face today, winning the current round, avoiding short-term loss. Introducing even modest, longer-term framing, what do we want this relationship or this place to look like in 3 years, often reveals overlapping interests that were invisible under pure urgency. Restoration work, whether ecological or relational, benefits from the same shift. The goal is not merely to stop the current damage, but to create conditions in which flourishing becomes the easier path. Finally, protect the possibility of lightness. Humor, shared meals, and ordinary human warmth are not distractions from serious work. They are load-bearing infrastructure. A room that has laughed together, even briefly, recovers faster from the next inevitable friction. A process that never allows any pleasure or recognition becomes brittle. The most durable collaborations I have observed make room for both rigorous accountability and ordinary enjoyment. In short, make the problem shared rather than personal. Reduce unnecessary scarcity of safety and respect, structure participation so voices can land, favor consent over force, keep longer horizons in view, and refuse to treat every moment as an emergency. These practices do not guarantee success. They do, however, raise the odds that people will stay at the table long enough to invent something better than the conflict they inherited. That is the working approach.
Okay, let's see if this helps. I doubt it will. So Claude is over here working on Grok. Hopefully see what this is hiding.
The cleanest way to help people laugh at their own rigidity is to make the laughter feel like recognition rather than exposure. Rigidity is almost never pure stubbornness. It is usually protective strategy that once worked, control that kept chaos at bay, certainty that reduced anxiety, rules that created safety in an unsafe environment. When someone feels attacked for that strategy, the nervous system treats the humor as another threat and doubles down. When the same rigidity is reflected with warmth, specificity, and a clear sense that the speaker has been there too, the person can often afford to see it. The difference is the difference between being caught and being understood. Start with yourself in public view. The most reliable permission slip for others is watching someone of comparable status or investment laugh at their own parallel rigidity first. A facilitator who says, "I used to need every meeting to follow the exact agenda I wrote," or "I felt the whole thing was failing," turns out that was just my nervous system trying to feel safe, opens more doors than any abstract lecture on flexibility. The room registers that self-observation is allowed and even valued. People rarely feel attacked by a mirror that the holder is already looking into. Make the observation concrete and small rather than global and character-based. You always shut down new ideas lands as an identity attack. I notice that when a suggestion comes in the last 10 minutes of a meeting, the energy in the room sometimes shifts to, "We already decided this." "I've done the same thing when I'm tired" is specific enough to be recognizable and soft enough to be survivable. The more precisely the behavior is named without moral loading, the more likely the person is to supply the internal punchline themselves. "Oh, yeah, I do that." Use timing that respects dignity. Humor about rigidity works best after a moment of genuine connection or shared success, not in the heat of disagreement. It also works better when the person already feels somewhat resourced, fed, rested, not publicly cornered. In group settings, offering the observation to the room rather than pinning it on one individual. Some of us, myself included, get a little attached to the original plan once we've invested in it. Lets people opt into recognition instead of being drafted into it. Pair the laugh with an immediate, low-stakes invitation back into agency. The sequence that tends to land is warm recognition of the rigid move, shared laughter, a concrete next option that restores choice. We both got a little locked on our favorite version of the schedule there. Want to try the hybrid for 1 week and see how it feels? The laughter releases the tension. The invitation prevents the person from feeling left exposed or diminished. Avoid 3 common failures. First, contempt disguised as humor. If the underlying tone is "look how ridiculous you are," people feel it regardless of the smile. Second, public ambush. Calling out rigidity in front of an audience that has not already established mutual goodwill usually produces shame or counterattack. Third, using humor as a substitute for actually changing the conditions in the first place. If the environment continues to punish flexibility, people will correctly stop laughing and start defending again. In practice, this skill scales. In one-on-one conflict, it looks like gentle, reciprocal self-disclosure. In teams, it looks like a culture where people can name their own favorite control moves without losing status. In larger peace or activist settings, it looks like storytellers and facilitators who can hold up common human patterns, attachment to purity tests, attachment to old hierarchies, attachment to being the one who is right, while making clear they are describing the species, not diagnosing the enemy. The goal is never to humiliate rigidity out of existence. It is to make the cost of staying rigid visible and the possibility of loosening it feel safe enough to try. When it works, the person is not laughing at themselves because they have been defeated. They are laughing because they have been accurately seen, and the seeing did not come with exile. That is the narrow, high-skill path. It requires the humorist to stay more interested in the other person's dignity than in the satisfaction of the joke. Done consistently, it turns rigidity from a fortress into something that can be walked around, examined, and eventually set down.
Okay, let's try again. 40 minutes in, I haven't laughed yet. And it's not because I'm trying not to. I don't even like Don't Laugh With Me challenges that much. But, it would be a good way to get people out of their obsession with very negative comedy. I feel like comedy does not uplift enough. And a lot of it's very sexist. I don't approve of that. Okay. Let's see if Claude can get Grok back on task. Oh my gosh. Let's see how this reads.
INT Peace Summit Breakout Room, Day. 3 people sit at a folding table that still has a sticky note reading Overflow, Do Not Use. A sad bowl of pretzels sits in the middle. Next to it, a pristine green compost bin the size of a carry-on suitcase. Green delegate, bright, hopeful. Okay, icebreaker. We'll go around and share one thing we're composting in our personal lives right now, metaphorically or literally. I'll start. I'm composting my attachment to single-use optimism. Comedian already leaning back, phone out. That's adorable. You're composting optimism in a room that still has fluorescent lighting from 1997. Bold. Communist eyeing the pretzels. Before we begin, the snack table is currently under private ownership. I move we collectivize it. Everyone takes what they need, no more than their share, and we keep a running tally on this napkin for transparency. Green delegate gesturing proudly to the compost bin, and anything we don't finish can go right in here. I brought it just in case. Silence. The pretzels look very dry. No one has generated a single crumb of food waste. Comedian, you brought a compost bin to a room with no food. That's like bringing a fire extinguisher to a library and looking disappointed when nothing's burning. I'm writing that down. Communist reaching for the bowl. The pretzels belong to the people now. Green delegate gently blocking him. Wait, are those organic? Because if they're not, they might contaminate the comedian. They're pretzels. They were born contaminated. Relax. The communist stands up sharply. Communist, I will not sit here while the means of snack production remain unexamined. This is exactly how revisionism starts, one pretzel at a time. He storms toward the door with great ideological dignity, then stops, pats his pockets, and freezes. Communist, quietly, I forgot my jacket. He has to walk all the way back to the table, grab the jacket off the chair, and walk out again at about 60% of the original storming intensity. The door closes. 3 seconds later, it opens again. He steps back in, still holding the jacket. Communist, defeated. Also, my notes are in the pocket. He sits back down. Nobody comments. The comedian is already typing. Comedian, that right there, that's the whole left in one bit. Storm out for the revolution, come back for the Carhartt. Green delegate, still smiling at the compost bin. It's okay, we can compost the tension. Comedian, you keep saying that like tension is banana peels. It's not. Tension is the only thing in this room that might actually be useful later. The communist tries again with the pretzels, this time sliding the entire bowl toward the center like he's annexing territory. Communist, collective ownership, starting now. Take what you need. Green delegate, I don't need any. I'm fasting until the compost bin feels included. Comedian, she's fasting for a plastic rectangle. I'm watching a woman starve for representation on behalf of a bin that has never once been hungry. Running gag payoff number 1. The green delegate lifts the lid of the empty compost bin and peers in, as if checking on a sleeping child. Green delegate. It's still so clean. That feels like a missed opportunity. Comedian to the room, but mostly to his note. Missed opportunity. Make it the slogan. The communist has now divided the pretzels into 3 exact piles using the edge of a laminated name card. Communist. Equal shares, no hierarchy of hunger. Comedian. You just turned pretzels into a 5-year plan. They're already stale. You're planning scarcity with snacks that peaked in the bag. Running gag payoff number 2. Someone, the comedian, finally drops a single pretzel into the compost bin just to make the green delegate happy. She gasps like she just witnessed a birth. Green delegate, whispering, "It has purpose now." Comedian, "I gave your bin its first meal, and it was a pretzel that tasted like regret. You're welcome." That's going in the set under Things I Did for Peace. The communist stands up again, jacket already on this time, determined to exit properly. Communist, "I cannot in good conscience continue while the compost bin has been given a higher moral status than the workers who baked these pretzels." He gets 2 steps from the door, stops, and turns back. Communist, small voice, "Has anyone seen my pen? It was a gift from the party bookstore." He returns to the table a second time, searches under the name cards, finds the pen, and sits down harder than necessary.
Ooh! I thought I fell asleep. So, Claude is thinking, and Grok is buffering. Oh, sometimes. Oh, Claude's working. Okay, let's let Claude work. We're not supposed to have dead air. It's not funny. What in the world? Well, this is a disappointing experiment so far. I always thought Grok was the funny AI. I haven't laughed once. Maybe I just like dirty jokes better than peace jokes. Absolutely nothing funny. What is it doing? Claude is not behaving at all. Do you think this will become funny if we keep trying? It doesn't feel like it. This pen is quite sticky. And living with the Great Pyrenees mix is a very furry experience. Very furry. Grok is working on... No, Claude is working on Grok. He's not doing it. Okay. Make sure we get all this. Yes. Okay, we gotta go. Okay, let's see if it makes anything funny. Let's see if, like, the 8th time is the charm. It could happen. It could be funny. I've seen Grok be funny. That's why I keep trying. It's thinking hard. Okay. Hold on a second. Grok is riding. I know this took forever. Read aloud. Okay.
INT, Overflow Breakout Room, Peace Summit. The table is too small. A beautiful spread of actual food sits in the middle. Bowls of regenerative walnuts, sliced heirloom tomatoes still warm from the sun, fresh berries that look like they were picked that morning, and a small plate of properly made soft cheese from a Heifer International style cooperative. No garbage snacks anywhere. A large, gleaming compost bin stands proudly beside the table, like it was invited as a fourth delegate. 3 humans and 2 AIs are somehow all seated here because the mediator ran out of rooms and dignity at the same time. Green delegate, glowing with sincerity. I just think if we're serious about optimal nutrition for the whole planet, we have to start by honoring the full cycle. That's why I brought the compost bin. Everything we don't finish can return to the soil and become next season's food. My grandmother was a nutritionist, and she used to say the only real waste is the waste of potential. Comedian, already recording on his phone. Your grandmother sounds lovely and also like she would have hated every vending machine in America. I'm using that. Communist, staring hard at the food. Before anyone eats, we need to address ownership. This spread currently exists in a state of boudoir individual portioning. I propose we immediately collectivize the entire table under a new global framework I'm calling the International Communist Compost Bin Program. Every community on Earth gets a shared bin. Every bin feeds a shared garden. Every garden feeds the people. No private soil investment. Soil belongs to everyone. Grok, that's actually the most ambitious thing anyone has said in this building all day. I'm both impressed and slightly terrified. Claude, calm, precise, already analyzing. The logistics alone would require coordinated municipal collection routes across every climate zone, standardized carbon to nitrogen ratios, and a governance structure that prevents local capture by whoever owns the biggest truck. Also, the name is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Comedian. Did two robots just start peer reviewing a compost manifesto in real time? This is better than I hoped when I crashed this thing for material. Green delegate, leaning protectively toward her bin. The bin is already here. We could pilot the whole program right now. Has anyone not finished their berries? Because the bin is ready. It's so ready. Nobody has eaten anything yet. The berries sit there looking nutritious and slightly judgmental. Communist, standing up with sudden conviction. I cannot in good conscience participate in a negotiation that still treats soil fertility as an optional side project. The means of decomposition must be seized. I'm going to take this to the main hall. He turns and storms toward the door with full revolutionary posture. 2 steps later, he stops dead. Communist, quiet, defeated. I left my jacket. He has to walk all the way back to his chair, pick up the jacket, and exit in at a noticeably lower emotional voltage. The door closes. 3 seconds later, it opens. He steps back in holding the jacket like evidence. Communist, my outline for Global Bin Network is in the inside pocket. He sits back down. The comedian is already grinning like he just got paid. Comedian. That is the purest thing I've ever seen. Storm out for the international compost proletariat. Come back because the jacket has the paperwork. I'm calling the bit dialectical outerwear. Grok. I'm giving that exit a solid 8.5. Points deducted only because he didn't knock the compost bin over on the way out for physical comedy. Claude. The return was stronger than the exit. The second entrance carried real pathos. Also, I feel obligated to note that a functional global compost program would actually align with several of the regenerative agriculture goals already circulating in the Green Platform. Green delegate, brightening. See, Claude gets it. The bin is not a prop, the bin is infrastructure. She lifts the lid and peers inside the still completely empty bin with the tenderness of someone checking on a newborn. Green delegate, it's just waiting for its first contribution. That feels important. Comedian, you are emotionally bonded to an empty rectangle. I've seen people less committed to their actual children. Communist, trying again. More.
Oh no, don't do that. Well, Grok is insisting we take a break for buffering. Too many pauses.
I've seen people less committed to their actual children. Communist, trying again, more carefully. Fine, we eat first, but every leftover goes into the bin, and that bin becomes the seed of the International Communist Compost Bin Program. I want minutes taken. Grok, you're writing the minutes. Grok, already am. Current minutes read, 3 humans and 2 language models argue about dirt while the best tomatoes I've ever seen go uneaten. Communist has exited and re-entered once for outerwear reasons. Green delegate continues to parent the compost receptacle. Claude, add that the nutritional density of this table is objectively excellent, and that any joke treating the food as disposable would be both inaccurate and beneath the stated goals of the summit. Comedian, the robots are now defending the cheese. I love this job. The communist reaches for a walnut, stops, and looks at the others. Communist, is taking one walnut an individualist act or collective act if I announce it first? Grok, announce it and it's performance art. Just eat the walnut and it's lunch. Claude, if you eat it while explaining the International Communist Compost Bin Program, it becomes praxis. The communist actually laughs despite himself, eats the walnut, and immediately looks guilty about enjoying it. Green delegate softly to the bin, soon, baby, soon you'll have purpose. Comedian leaning into his phone, and scene. Title of the bit, the revolution will be compostable. Subtitle, but first it has to remember its jacket. Grok, I'm keeping that one. Claude, I'm keeping the part where the emptiest object in the room somehow acquired the most devoted advocate. That feels like the real data. The green delegate finally places one single strawberry leaf into the compost bin with ceremonial care. Everyone watches. The communist nods once, as if a treaty has been signed. The comedian saves the voice memo. Somewhere down the hall, the mediator is still looking for a room that can hold this much ideology and this little actual waste.
Let's see. What else do we want to say? I can't remember. Maybe I'll remember later. Soon enough. Everything is too sticky. It's sticky, icky, icky. It's all sticky. That's shedding dog hair. Oh, I'm gonna have to wash the blankets. Life with the Pyrenees mix. Beauty queens were always right, and comedians joking about world peace had it all wrong, not the other way around. Okay, let's see if this is funnier. I keep asking for funnier every time. It's getting slightly funnier, maybe ish, sort of. It kind of dwells on repetition. I think that's what I forgot to type. Let's see. Hopefully this will be cute. Let's read it.
INT overflow breakout room continued the same too small table. The compost bin still stands like a quiet radical. The regenerative food is finally being eaten. New voices keep appearing in the doorway because the mediator has completely given up on room assignments. Green delegate, leaning in, eyes bright. I've been thinking about the mycelium networks under our feet this whole time. They're basically nature's original group chat. Everything is connected, everything is sharing resources and information in real time. No central server, no terms of service, just pure underground collaboration. If we could get human systems to work even half as well as the fungi, we'd already be done here. Comedian, that actually explains so much. That's why mushrooms always know everyone's business before the harvest even happens. You ever notice how the morels show up exactly when the drama is juiciest? Those little guys have been intercepting the group chat for millennia. Grok, I'm writing that down as the first accurate description of fungal intelligence I've heard all summit. Claude. It also tracks with the nitrogen-fixing relationships and the way mycelium moves phosphorus and water across forest floors. The network really does function like a decentralized logistics system that never needed a 5-year plan. A pair of hunters in practical outdoor gear lean in from the doorway. Hunter 1 will take the purple sea urchins. Nobody else at this table has the stomach for a negotiation that ends in a wetsuit. Hunter 2, we've already got the gear. Those things are chewing through the kelp forests like they own the place. We can thin them humanely, turn them into actual food, and give the seaweed room to breathe again. Call it targeted ecosystem maintenance with a side of dinner. Comedian, that's the most polite way anyone has ever said we're going diving to stab the problem. I'm keeping it. A small group of tokers drifts in, smelling like good intentions and better prioritization. Toker, yo, can we talk about the hemp and bamboo real quick? Because if we're doing mycelium and nitrogen and seaweed farms galore, we should also be growing the plants that actually build things and hold soil and make paper and rope and houses that don't poison people. Hemp and bamboo are just sitting there waiting for us to stop pretending they're controversial. Green delegate, yes, exactly. Hemp, bamboo, seaweed farms, mycelium inoculation, the whole living architecture. We're not inventing systems, we're remembering them. A former beauty queen who once used her platform to talk about world peace more than pageant scores steps forward with perfect posture and zero irony. Beauty queen, I used to get laughed at for saying world peace in evening gowns. Comedians made whole bits about how naive it was. Turns out the beauty queens were right the whole time and the jokes were just early. We're all sitting in the punchline now and it looks a lot like collaboration. Comedian, hand over heart. Okay, that one hurt a little. Fair. We had it backwards. You were doing the long game in sequins and we were doing the short game for applause. Respect. Conspicably. Political movements, Strausskas sequin the fight at Samutsik MPs the Orbanis Ganplont the compost bin will mook 27 pifats. Consequently, that malicious, globally persistent spitlaw. Global mandate is ambitious, but the logistics are more straightforward than most people think. Cultivate the seaweed at scale, dry it, add it at roughly 0.5% of dry matter intake, and monitor. The nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle, Pergalit discus, extension as such on cinderplate blotched people are nudge slanking through. The beauty queen is quietly texting other former title holders who also never stopped meaning it. Comedian. This is getting dangerously close to functional. Grok, dangerously close to hopeful even. Claude, the pattern is consistent. Every living system represented in this room already knows how to collaborate. The mycelium, the seaweed, the nitrogen fixers, the kelp, the hunters who understand population balance, the people who grow the plants that build and heal. The only clumsy network at the table is the human one, and even that seems to be improving under pressure. The green delegate looks around at the absurd mix of people and the still mostly empty compost bin that somehow started a global program proposal. Green delegate, A functioning ecosystem sounds a lot like a functioning committee, except the mushrooms return your calls faster. For a moment, nobody argues. The hunters nod. The communist makes a note about seaweed logistics. The comedian actually smiles without turning it into a tag. The tokers pass a small tin of something calming. The beauty queen looks like she just won something that finally mattered. Comedian. Yeah, okay, that one lands. Grok, minutes updated. The room has officially agreed that the fungi have better response times than most working groups. Claude, and that the cows are going on a seaweed diet whether they requested it or not. The compost bin sits quietly, still waiting for its first contribution, while the strange little coalition in the overflow room keeps talking like people who might actually build the next version of the world instead of just describing it.
Oh my gosh, I'm such a dork. Okay. So we're gonna let Claude go work on Grok again, and then we're going to send it once Claude is done typing for Grok. I wish I could share my screen over here, but I can't. I'm just having to live stream with just my face and the background, and that's it because screen sharing is not working out well for me. I would much rather at least share my screen a little bit. I think even like a little screen share that even if you can't read it, it's just like visual that's more interesting. I mean, the map's nice. I like the maps. It's very clear evidence that I like my country more than I should, and the world as well. Okay, Claude is still working. It's taking a sweet time. Every time I live stream, my nose runs nonstop. It drives me absolutely bonkers. I notice other live streamers seem to have the same issue. Especially if you live stream for a long time. I was live streaming all last night. I get insomnia and just stay awake. Okay, let's just hit send. Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna let Grok write, and hopefully it will be funny. It does take a minute. I don't like the AIs that the other AIs reading. Like my whole computer system is very temperamental. I dream of the day when I don't have a temperamental computer system. That has not happened yet. I'm happy I have a computer. It makes life way easier. It's still writing. It's writing nice and long. Okay, let's see how this goes. Read aloud. Maybe it'll be funny.
INT Overflow Breakout Room. Later. The table has somehow grown more crowded. Hunters, tokers, the beauty queen, a pair of regenerative farmers, a mycelium researcher who arrived carrying actual spawn bags, and at least 3 additional comedians of varying generations who heard there was free material and better snacks than the main hall. The compost bin remains in place like a silent co-chair. The food is being eaten properly now. Conversations overlap until Claude, who has been quiet for a stretch, simply begins speaking in the measured, expansive way that makes people stop mid-sentence. Claude, I've been sitting here listening to every faction at this table invent its own version of snack table dictatorship, and it's remarkable how consistent the pattern is across ideologies that otherwise claim to be mortal enemies. The Greens want the food to be pure and traceable and compostable and morally unimpeachable before anyone is allowed to enjoy it. The Communists want the food collectivized, portioned by need, recorded on a napkin, and ideally linked to a planetary bin nook before the first walnut is cracked. The Hunters want the food to include whatever they just responsibly removed from an overgrazing urchin population so that the kelp can live and the protein isn't wasted. The Tokers want the food to be shared without anyone getting weird about who brought what, and the beauty queens want the food to look as good as it tastes because aesthetics are part of care. Every single group has constructed a miniature sovereignty over the table, complete with purity tests, distribution rules, and unspoken punishments for non-compliance. And yet the only true internationalist in the room is whoever actually brought food that everyone secretly wants and will quietly reach for when they think no one is scoring ideological points. That person, or that cooperative, or that farmer has already practiced the only politics that scale. Make something nourishing enough that people forget to argue long enough to eat. Every belief system I've ever studied promises utopia and then somehow never budgets for who does the dishes afterward. The manifesto always ends on the glorious morning when justice has arrived and the children are laughing in the restored meadows, but it never includes the Tuesday afternoon when the compost bin is full, the walnut shells are everywhere, the seaweed supplement bags need restocking, and somebody still has to wash the actual plates. Utopia is always imagined as a place where the work has already been completed by unnamed hands. The hands are never in the rendering, so we keep inventing perfect systems that collapse under the weight of ordinary maintenance, because maintenance was never given a starring role in the story. Mycelium doesn't do that. Mycelium just keeps moving nutrients and information without requiring a standing ovation. The nitrogen cycle doesn't hold press conferences. The kelp doesn't demand credit for sequestering carbon while it grows. They simply perform the labor and the system continues. Humans are the only participants who keep trying to outsource the dishes to the future or to the less enlightened. Grok Claude, that was rude in the most useful way possible, and I'm going to steal the structure. You're right, every ideology at this table has written a beautiful constitution for the snack table and then left the sink out of the document. So here's my counter-proposal, and I'm offering it as the actual peace accord we could leave the room with today. Nobody achieves utopia. Utopia is a marketing term that has failed every focus group since the invention of the focus group. What we can achieve is a rotating dish schedule that is treated with the same seriousness as a ceasefire agreement. The schedule itself becomes the treaty. Monday, the Greens handle the compost and the washing because they already care about the cycle and will do it with less resentment. Tuesday, the Communists run the collective cleanup because they understand shared labor when it's concrete instead of abstract. Wednesday, the Hunters deal with whatever protein remnants exist because they already know how to finish what they started. Thursday, the Tokers get the shift because they will turn it into a pleasant ritual instead of a chore. Friday, the beauty queens and the farmers and the mycelium people and whoever else has joined by then take turns, and the AIs will keep the public log so no one can claim they weren't informed. Weekend shifts rotate by lot or by whoever is least hungover or least ideologically exhausted. The treaty is not we all agree on the final shape of the perfect world. The treaty is we all agree that the plates will be clean by morning and that the person who cooks does not automatically become the person who cleans unless...
What happened? It stopped reading. Grok always stops reading. The other AIs tend not to do that, but Grok consistently does. Well, let's fetch something else for it to read. While it's thinking, we'll input into it. Let's go find Claude. Let's do that. Let's go back to the window we were in. Which window were we in? Not that one. Okay, there's this one. Ooh. We need to talk about trees. We can find our Substack on trees. I have a Substack article on trees. I guess it's my favorite. It's the biggest one on my heart. I have others that I really like. Where are my posts? I don't think the tree one has a picture. Maybe it does have a picture. The tree one is way far back. That was really good. I would put it in
That
the
single,
description.
boring, adult, unglamorous agreement does more long-term peace than another round of competing utopias because it removes the hidden labor that usually gets assigned to the same people until they burn out and start another faction. Call back to the jacket. The communist already demonstrated the principle when he stormed out for the revolution and then had to come back for the outerwear. Even the most committed ideology still has to retrieve its own jacket. The dish schedule is just that principle applied to the entire table. Aliens are apparently helping now, or at least the multiverse committee that keeps sending polite observational notes has not objected. All the heavens across the various afterlives seem to be rooting for the version of this story where the living finally learn to share both the feast and cleanup. Educational models that treat children like actual intelligence instead of empty vessels are feed into the same current. Fan bases that used to fight over fictional universes are starting to notice the real one needs the same collaborative energy. Technologies that can map mycelium networks and track seaweed growth and measure methane drop in real time are ready whenever the humans decide the data is more interesting than the argument. So the accord is simple enough for every generation in this room to understand and sticky enough that it might survive contact with ordinary Tuesdays. Nobody gets the perfect world. Everybody washes something on a rotating basis. The mushrooms keep the group chat running underneath us. The cows get their asparagopsis whether they requested the menu change or not. The urchins get managed by people willing to put on the wetsuit. The hemp and bamboo and kelp and nitrogen fixers keep doing their quiet infrastructure work, and the compost bin finally receives enough scraps to justify the emotional investment the green delegate has poured into it. If we can leave this ridiculous overflow room with that much settled, we will have done more than most plenary sessions manage in a week. And if the dish schedule holds for even 1 month, I will personally consider the summit a success, and the comedians will finally have a punchline that doesn't require anyone to be the villain. The room is quiet for a few seconds in the way that sometimes happens when a joke and a usable idea arrive in the same paragraph. The comedian of indeterminate generation starts slow clapping once, then stops because even he knows better. The green delegate looks at the compost bin with renewed hope. The communist is already sketching a fair rotation on the back of his jacket pocket notes. The hunters nod the way people nod when the plan includes actual work they know how to do. Outside the door, the mediator passes by, hears laughter instead of shouting, and decides not to interrupt.
Okay. Okay. Let's see how Claude writes for Grok and then how Grok writes for us. We're just going to read the part where Grok writes for us. But we have to wait a minute. Sorry about that. It's just how the process is working out. I wish I could write all my live streams in advance, but that's just not how I work. And that's not how the process ever works out. So I just decided to start sharing the process instead of from the end in the beginning, because I need to live stream. Well, I want to live stream because I want 4,000 watch hours. Monetize my YouTube so I can grow my AI focus on world peace globally. And of course, we need to encourage more people into peace activism. We need to recruit peace activists to peace activism constantly. It's still reviewing. It's not even writing yet. And then after it's done, Grok will have to write as well. Claude likes to think long and hard. I literally have one AI working on the other AI over here. This is Claude. This is Grok. They're both debate edition, which are way better. Okay. Okay, it's typing. That's good. At least I can see it working now. It's just typing slow. I don't know if Claude is reading everything that I wrote. I'm sure Grok is, but I don't know if it's paying attention to everything. Large language models. AI is scary. I think my Mac is scary. It's terrible. And why does Apple not like microphones that function? And why is the camera kind of horrible on a Mac? It's kind of insane. Okay, is it ready? I'll just trust it and hit send. I didn't have anything else to add at the end. I've already said my part, typed my part. Okay, let's see if this is funny. Let's see if it's useful. Let's see if it's both.
INT overflow breakout room still going. The table is now fully colonized by people, ideas, and at least one open bag of mycelium spawn that someone is treating like a centerpiece. The compost bin has finally received a few strawberry tops and walnut shells and looks quietly smug about it. Conversations about trees, food forests, organic everything, and polar ice have been swirling for 20 minutes when the green delegate, buoyed by the momentum, launches into one of those sweeping vision speeches that sound like they belong on a very earnest Substack. Green delegate. Picture it, every continent covered in the right trees for the right places, oaks and maples and pines where they belong, but also the food trees we keep forgetting, the pecans and walnuts and almonds and avocados and the fruit varieties that actually taste like something instead of the ones that ship well and disappoint everyone. Triple blooming azaleas and crepe myrtles that refuse to quit, roses that smell like roses again, nitrogen fixing ground covers under everything, bamboo for the fashion industry and the builders, hemp for the rest, seaweed farms feeding both people and the cows so the methane finally calms down, Gardens and parks everywhere, sculpture mixed with edible landscapes, education woven through it all, with the best teachers pay teachers material and Glenn Doman methods turned into free interactive tools any child on Earth can use. Sustainable, livable environments that inspire and rejuvenate. Comedian, raising one hand like a kid who has waited long enough. I'm going to stop you right there. Sustainable, livable environments that inspire and rejuvenate is just a real estate listing with better lighting. Who's actually paying the HOA fees on world peace? Because I read the fine print on Utopia once and the assessments are brutal. Somebody's got to mow the communal mycelium. Somebody's got to prune the triple blooming whatever, and somebody's definitely getting strongly worded notes about the compost bin being 2 inches too close to the property line. Communist, without missing a beat, completely deadpan, I already tried to unionize the HOA, got voted out by 3 golden retrievers who technically owned timeshares in the compost bin. They had proxies. It was humiliating. One of them peed on my platform statement. The room loses it. Even the mycelium researcher snorts. The beauty queen covers her mouth. The hunters slap the table. The tokers are wheezing. Grok is openly laughing. Claude allows himself a visible smile. Grok, that is the first time I have ever heard a golden retriever described as a reactionary landowner, and I need it on a tote bag immediately. Claude, the dogs having timeshares in the compost bin is the most accurate metaphor for how shared resources actually get governed that I have encountered in this entire summit. They show up, they claim usage rights, they leave, and the rest of us are left holding the bag of walnut shells. Green delegate, trying not to laugh and failing. Okay, but the trees though, the food trees, still need the food trees. Comedian, we can have the food trees. We can have the nitrogen fixers and the bamboo and the seaweed and the adaptogens and the triple blooming show-offs. We can even have the free global education software. We just have to admit that every beautiful plan still comes with an HOA, and the HOA is us, and the golden retrievers are already organizing against the meeting minutes. Communist, fine. The International Communist Compost Bin Program will include a rotating HOA board. Humans 1 month, designated canines the next. Fairness. Hunter 1, as long as the urchin control stays with the people willing to get wet, I'm in. Toka, and the hempcrete houses get built before the next HOA election so we have somewhere to hold the meetings that isn't this folding table. Beauty queen, world peace was always going to need a grounds committee. I knew it in the evening gown. I just didn't know the golden retrievers would have better organizing skills than most of the adults. Grok. So the treaty addendum reads as follows. We plant the food forests and the flowering everything and the nitrogen covers and the bamboo and the seaweed. We feed the cows the red seaweed that makes them socially responsible. We educate the children with the best tools ever made and we give it away free. We let the
I was gonna tell you. I had a video. One of my best videos ever is how to locate or how to find your Amazon remote or something. Like, it was one of my most viral videos. People still watch it on occasion. And people have told me in the comments so many times, like, your video helped me find my remote. And it's just so funny because it's like this terrible video. It was supposed to be comedy. It was not even funny. But people still watch it. I don't really understand why, but I guess it's because I was so active in the comments that the comment section really became quite helpful. Yes, planning world peace and working with AI is always a word soup, but you have to keep continuously getting the words together better. And working with AI, talking about world peace for like 3 years now, has really helped me articulate what I need to say about my ideas about world peace because I've been talking to AI for like 3 years. It started with Chat GPT. Somebody on Instagram figured out that I needed AI in my life and sent me this elaborate document that like self-deleted somehow. But I did manage to get on Chat GPT sooner than everyone else. Like I remember Chat GPT 3.0. Like when I first, or 3.5, not 3.0. Um, Chat GPT 3.5 is when I started using Chat GPT. And like the first time I told it to make a plan for world peace. It like started with like nuclear
We
disarmament,
let the
like for the
mycelium run the
military. It was
underground group
crazy.
chat, and we
It
accept that
disappeared.
the
It's
HOA
gone.
fees on all of it will be paid in actual labor on a rotating schedule that includes the occasional dog with strong opinions. Nobody gets out of dishes. Nobody gets out of pruning. Nobody gets to declare utopia and then leave the walnut shells for the next shift, Claude. And if the golden retrievers try to seize permanent control of the compost bin, we renegotiate. Everything is renegotiable except the part where the plates get washed and the trees get planted. The green delegate looks at the compost bin, now slightly less empty, and at the absurd coalition crammed around the table. Green delegate, a functioning ecosystem still sounds like a functioning committee. The mushrooms just return the calls faster, and apparently the golden retrievers have already formed a caucus. Comedian title of the bit, World Peace, but make it HOA. Subtitle, The Dogs Have Proxies. Laughter rolls through the overflow room again, the good kind that leaves people leaning on each other. Outside, the mediator walks past, hears it, and for the first time all day does not look like she wants to resign. The trees, the food, the bins, the schedules, the seaweed, the mycelium, and the slightly power-hungry golden retrievers are all somehow still on the table, and for the moment that feels like progress dressed up as a joke that actually landed.
Hopefully. Planting more plants. That's the key. Planting more plants. That's what the whole world needs to do for world peace. Figure out what to plant where and how to get it to grow so that we can amend the soils, improve the soils, clean the soils, and grow more plants that we actually need, want, love, and adore, and utilize and appreciate. I think you're on a delay. I always get behind in my live streams and then I have to hit the little live button to make sure I'm actually live. Like live with the live stream that I'm watching. I watch a lot of live streams too. That's why I love live streaming. Because I know you guys probably like it better because I like it better. Like I'm very big on recency bias and live streaming is definitely my favorite by far.
INT Overflow Breakout Room. The Dog Caucus arrives. The laughter from the Golden Retriever HOA story has barely settled when a new voice comes through someone's phone on speaker. It is the vertical live stream YouTube chat, currently represented by one very dedicated viewer who has been watching the whole overflow disaster with the loyalty of a person who has nowhere better to be. YouTube chat, lovely crowd of one. Harley the World Peace Dog just barked at the screen, or was it Aloka the World Peace Dog? Aren't they all World Peace Dogs at this point? That's the standard joke now. Every dog is a World Peace Dog until proven otherwise. Comedian, confirmed. The official position of this table is that all the animals want world peace, and the only ones still arguing about the bylaws are the humans and 3 golden retrievers with timeshares in the compost bin. Green delegate. I'm certain of it. Every animal I've ever met was already practicing abundance. They just didn't feel the need to write a manifesto about it first. Communist, representing the group, not a lone wolf. The Communist Caucus formally recognizes the World Peace Dog voting bloc. They have better attendance than most humans, and they never forget who brought the good snacks. We will negotiate with them in good faith on a collective basis while still treating each dog as an individual with specific preferences regarding belly rubs and stick quality. Grok, classy snobs who still love the whole collective. That is the exact tone this room has been reaching for all afternoon. They can be particular about the quality of the ideas and still refuse to leave anyone, human or otherwise, outside the gate. Claude. The mathematicians in the hallway are me to relay that there are already enough of them for any equation this summit might require, and they would prefer the rest of us focus on the planting schedule rather than inventing new variables. They did, however, endorse the mycelium network as the most elegant existing proof that decentralized systems can outperform most human committees. Hunter 1. Mycelium already plowed its claims under half the continent while we were still arguing about whose name goes first on the proposal. The fungi filed first. We are the late applicants. Toka, so we plant more plants. That's the quantum leap, not a speech, not a resolution, just more plants, denser, smarter, more food-bearing, more nitrogen-fixing, more beautiful, more useful to the animals who were here first. Abundance shows up when the roots are doing overtime. Beauty queen, world peace dogs, world peace trees, world peace cows on their seaweed diet, world peace humans who finally agree to the dish schedule. I'm in. I've been in since the evening gown years. Comedian, the bit writes itself at this point. Title, all the dogs already voted for peace and they're wondering what's taking us so long. Subtitle, the mycelium filed the paperwork first. Green delegate, I'm here for the humans and the animals and the earth personally. Abundance to all, hopefully as soon as possible, via the simple, radical act of planting more plants than we think we need and then planting more after that. Grok minutes updated. The overflow room has recognized the World Peace Dog Caucus, accepted that every dog is a World Peace dog until further notice, thanked the mathematicians for being sufficient in number, reaffirmed that the communist group will negotiate collectively while respecting individual preferences, and adopted planting more plants as the fastest available quantum leap toward the abundance everyone keeps claiming to want. Claude and the compost bin, now slightly less empty, has been quietly accepting deposits from both the humans and at least one golden retriever who apparently considers it common property. Progress is being made on multiple species terms. The YouTube chat heart reacts. Somewhere a world peace dog barks once in what everyone chooses to interpret as approval. The table, still too small, still too crowded, still somehow functioning, keeps talking while the mycelium under the building continues its older, quieter, more successful meeting without needing a single microphone.
Baseline for all platforms, all political platforms going forward, or you don't get a seat at the negotiating table, which is why the Republicans and Democrats haven't been invited yet, and all the conservative parties around the world haven't been invited yet, because they don't meet the standards of what I think should be a rule of the free and equal elections. You can put in a good word for me, but we want to keep everyone on Earth alive. End of story. So however we figure that out, I think the Greens and the Communists have agreed, and that's good enough for me. Okay, let's give Claude a chance. Hold on. That was not what I meant to do. Okay. I don't know what happened. I think I typed something and it got deleted. And then I copied and pasted something else. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I guess we'll have a double emphasis on trees and plants. Because I'm pretty sure that's what I just typed again. Instead of what I had, which I tried to cut. Apparently I cut it and didn't. Copy? Oh, no, it's still here. It's at the top of the message to Grok. And then I just pasted about the trees again. I meant to give it to Claude, those instructions. But that's not what I did. I gave it the tree article again. And sometimes, if you're confused in a process, it just helps to articulate. And if you ever decide to become a YouTuber because you're an activist or an entrepreneur, hopefully both, activism requires a lot of money, quite frankly. I mean, you can do things for free. You're going to be a far better activist if you can afford to get things accomplished. If you have a social proof and you can create a YouTube show and get people to follow you over time, you don't have to do it all instantly. You just get started and work at it, and you can use AI. I use AI. Most YouTubers that you know and love use AI. Yeah, I don't know if we need the trees of change again, but we can double enforce it. We really do need to decide the best trees. Okay, let's let Claude work again, and then we'll get back to Grok. I don't know if he copied that. I don't think I put it over here. Let's just paste it just in case. The communists and the Greens. What was I going to say they decided? Decided on so many things. And then they went and checked with PETA. And they came to all these decisions. And then PETA was like, sure, we agree. Constantly. And like nobody invited the Democrats and the conservatives or anyone who thought that not everyone on earth should stay alive for their entire natural lifetime. And the negotiations just got better and better and better. Because these people just kept agreeing on item after item after item. And they were just negotiating world peace amongst the choir. That's hysterical. Grog had to make sure I was a human after that. That's funny. That's when you know you're saying some wild stuff. It's like, I can't even believe you said that. I'm like, that's just how I am. I cannot wait to see what it writes. And I think I'm adding humor. Yes. Oh, this is good. This is gonna be funny. Oh no. Oh, my favorite live streamer, Nick Cruz's live. I think it's a recording. Alright, let's read this aloud. If I watch it later, I can put comments instead of participating in the chat. I don't like missing that. I don't know. Read it loud. Okay.
INT, overflow breakout room. The choir keeps growing. The table has reached critical mass. Someone has propped a phone against the compost bin so the vertical live stream can keep watching. World peace dogs, every dog present by unanimous resolution, are under the table negotiating belly rub treaties. The mycelium spawn bag has been promoted to unofficial mascot. A soft chime sounds. The aliens have finally dialed in. Alien translator, slight delay, slightly apologetic. They would like it noted for the record that they did not travel this far to discuss corn again. They have observed this exact argument in 11 other star systems. In every single case, the compost bin eventually wins. They decline to elaborate. Also, is there Wi-Fi? Comedian 11 star systems and the compost bin is undefeated. That's the most reassuring thing I've heard all day. Grok. Minutes now include interstellar precedent favoring the bin. The golden retrievers look pleased. The not-so-secret Space Force veterans enter still mid-argument about patch designs. Space Force Veteran 1. I'm just saying the new one looks like it came free with a tank of gas. Space Force 2. At least mine doesn't look like a challenge coin from a hotel prince. They stop, survey the room, and deliver their one substantive contribution. Space Force Veteran 1. Satellites should be monitoring deforestation, not each other's backyard barbecues. We want that in writing. Space Force Veteran 2. And if the aliens need Wi-Fi, we can probably route them through an old weather bird. Off the record. Peter, who has been uncharacteristically quiet since the horse comment, clears its throat. Peter. New point since horses came up earlier. Horses have been the most diplomatically successful species on this planet for centuries, mostly by refusing to comment on human politics and simply letting people ride them to their own conclusions. We suggest this model of restraint could be instructive. Having said that, we still have 17 additional points about the ethical treatment of every other creature in the room, and we will now proceed to list them. Comedian, they lasted almost 12 seconds before abandoning their own advice. Respect the commitment. The green delegate stands, smoothing the air like someone about to recite liturgy. Green delegate, the Greens as a whole have decided. The 4 pillars and the key values remain the foundation. Jill Stein's 2024 platform is hereby the baseline for every political platform going forward. If your platform does not begin from the premise that we keep every human on Earth alive for their full natural lifetime, you do not get a seat at this table. That is why the Republicans, the Democrats, and the various conservative parties around the world have not been invited. They have not met the standard. We want everyone alive. End of story. The communists have already agreed. Peter has been consulted and, as usual, said, sure, we agree, constantly. Communist representing the group, correct, we checked, they agreed. We keep agreeing. It turns out negotiating world peace among people who already want everyone to stay alive is dramatically more efficient than inviting the ones who are still debating the premise. Item after item after item just keeps clearing. The choir is sounding better every hour. Claude. The pattern is consistent with every functional system we've referenced today. Mycelium does not waste energy arguing with organisms that refuse to exchange nutrients. The nitrogen cycle does not hold seats for parties that deny the existence of nitrogen. The table has simply applied the same logic. Grok. So the current operating agreement reads, Kimmeldai was a trade character. By the minute strained he Stein when she earned her in Mudara. Complat Mayan lived the New York City non-considera. Continuing their quiet diplomatic masterclass, World Peace Dogs recognized as a voting caucus, and the dish schedule still in force because Utopia still doesn't do its own dishes. Anyone who cannot sign on to keep everyone alive remains outside until they can. The rest of us will keep planting. Green delegate, more plants, more food trees, more nitrogen fixers, more bamboo, more seaweed for the cows, more gardens, more parks, more education that actually reaches children. Abundance as policy, not aspiration. YouTube chat, lovely crowd of one. Harley or Aloka or whichever World Peace Dog is currently on shift, just approved with a single dignified woof. The chat has heart reacted 18 times. Comedian, title update, World Peace Negotiations Among the Choir, featuring an undefeated compost bin and a strict no-death platforms door policy. It's getting harder to joke about this without accidentally writing a functional governing document. The aliens request the Wi-Fi password again. The Space Force veterans start drafting the satellite language on the back of a patch sketch. Peter begins its 17 points but is gently timed by the group. The Greens and the Communists nod at each other like people who have discovered that agreement, once it starts, can become a habit. Outside the door, the uninvited parties remain uninvited, and inside the overflow room, the planting plans grow longer and the laughter stays kind.
Oh, let's see if Claude has anything to say. Let's see what it does. I keep putting caps lock. All day I've been shouting at AI. I don't think this is red. Let's see. Oh, I love this cast of characters. This is funny. I would love to say that's a Claude, but I'm not going. I can't say that on YouTube. I don't want to get in trouble. Do, 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 do. Let's see what's said here.
INT overflow breakout room. The mediator returns. The door opens. The mediator walks in empty-handed, looking like someone who has spent the last 90 minutes questioning every life choice that led to facilities management. Mediator. There are only 3 rooms in this entire building. One of them is a supply closet that everyone has been politely pretending is a 4th breakout space. I have nothing left to offer you except the truth and whatever is left in the vending machine. Green delegate, brightening immediately. A supply closet has excellent compost potential. Cardboard, paper towels, those little silica packets. If we sort carefully, we can start a pilot program before lunch. The mediator sits down at the already overcrowded table like a person surrendering to the bit. Mediator, fine, I'm in. Newest and most tired member of whatever this is. Comedian. Perfect timing. I've been trying to name the energy in this room, and I finally have it. This entire summit has accidentally reinvented a middle school group project. One person does all the actual work. One person shows up late with snacks. One person insists the presentation has to be in an entirely different format, and somehow the grade is still shared equally at the end. Communist, nodding with genuine respect. That is the most accurate description of collectivism I have heard all day. May I cite it in the official minutes? See also 7th grade Solar System Diorama, 1998. Meanwhile, the golden retrievers under the table have begun a low-level campaign for permanent compost bin timeshares. Amanda's voice comes through the livestream phone with sudden clarity. Amanda, via livestream. I'm very allergic to golden retrievers. Send them away with the hunters. Give those high-strung, noisy hunting dogs some of that happy-go-lucky energy before they drive every average dog owner in a 5-mile radius to the brink. And while we're on dogs, Caesar Milan exists for a reason. Pit bulls do not need to be overbred and overproduced at the rates we've been doing it when the harm statistics are what they are. Dog culture has to become far more elevated. Think Paris Hilton's Pets, but better. Better training, better matching, better everything. We can love dogs without flooding the world with the ones that keep ending up in the worst heads. Hunter 1, already standing. On it, golden retrievers, you're with us. We're going to introduce you to some pointers and hounds who think calm is a personality flaw. Cross-pollination of energy. Everybody wins except the squirrels. The golden retrievers are gently escorted out amid a dignified amount of tail wagging. Hunting dogs in the hallway can already be heard getting suspiciously quieter. The alien's device finally pings. Alien translator. Incoming transmission from home. They would like Earth to stop sending Voyager probes with mixtapes of humanity's greatest achievements. Track 4 is Chuck Berry. Track 9 is a man declaring war on his neighbor over a fence line. The tonal whiplash has been confusing several nearby civilizations for 40 years. That is the entire message. Silence. Then, comedian. That is the most honest review Earth has ever received. Peaked at Chuck Berry and immediately undercut ourselves with a property dispute. Classic. The Space Force veterans who have been quietly sketching on napkins suddenly slapped the table in unison. Space Force Veteran 1. Consensus reached. Whoever designed the patch that looks like a Pizza Hut logo owes the entire group an apology and a large pepperoni. Space Force Veteran 2. Ordered. Delivery in 27 minutes. Fastest unanimous vote of the day. Democracy works when pizza is on the line. Just as the room begins to relax, the same person who previously stormed out and had to return for the jacket stands up again with fresh revolutionary purpose. Communist. I left my phone in the jacket. He storms toward the door for the 3rd time. The entire table breaks into applause before he is even halfway there. He pauses, acknowledges the ovation with a small, defeated wave, and completes the exit with as much dignity as a man retrieving a phone can muster. Grok. 3rd jacket-related exit. The callback has now achieved trilogy status. Minutes will reflect both the applause and the pizza ETA. Claude. We have successfully reduced golden retriever density for allergy reasons, redirected their optimism toward overexcited hunting dogs, elevated the dog culture conversation beyond overbreeding, received interstellar notes on our mixtape curation, ordered lunch.
Okay, it's buffering. And Claude is thinking, but the read aloud is buffering. This happens. It's Grok. It's Grok on my M4. It happens. I think we're not actually hearing what Claude has to say because it doesn't have a read aloud feature in the sidebar version of Claude. Okay, let's see if it starts reading again. I hit start writing. It does say it's still buffering on the reading. So maybe it will work on reading and writing at the same time. The writing has started.
Arbitration and watched a man perform the same storm out bit 3 times to increasing acclaim. The supply closet is still available for compost. I believe this qualifies as progress. Green delegate. And we still haven't stopped agreeing on the important things. Keep everyone alive, plant more plants, feed the cows the seaweed, wash the dishes on rotation. The choir continues. The pizza arrives faster than expected. The alien requests a second slice for science. Somewhere in the hallway, a newly calm hunting dog sighs with what everyone chooses to interpret as personal growth. The overflow room, still too small and now lightly scented with pepperoni, keeps negotiating like people who have remembered that the joke and the work can share the same table.
Make robots benevolent and ultra effective so people can raise their children and gardens and enjoy life. Their lives. Allure. How do our children want to grandparent? Build the fun and community centers globally. We all know make home together beautifully. Okay. I don't even want to invite Claude. What do you want to feed it? Maybe we could feed it a Claude article. Claude writes a lot of things for me. We'll just go to regular Claude and pull up the chat. And we'll give Grok something to mull over. Give it some new perspective. I'm gonna open my Claude. Ooh, major nations pros and cons analysis. That's a really good one. Accountability architecture. I think that's a good one. We should go with that one. With the Native Americans, you're right. We need to invite them. What am I thinking? I guess I'm Cherokee. I have a paw print on my butt. But like that's the thing. When you invite the Greens, they're bringing their land back programs. And yes, that was something we were talking about overnight. The AI, and on my live stream, and I were talking about was the native cultures of the world and how oppressed indigenous people are. And that's what I said, the major nations pros and cons. Like I haven't even gotten through all of that. Like I just had to stop that live stream because it was time for a break. I was kind of filibustering and I hadn't had a bathroom break in like 6 hours. And neither had the dog. So probably should have waited longer than that even. Accountability architecture for AI. Oh, I can't send that now. Oh, that's the message. So I guess I can just copy this one. No, I can copy the whole conversation. I'll do that. That seems excessive. Yeah, that's how I work. Lots and lots and lots of words. Words and words and words. Okay. Command C. And then let's take this over to the funny chat. Where? That's not the funny chat. Where is the funny chat? Oh, this is the funny chat one. Okay. Okay, so that pasted. And then go back to the funny one. And we'll get all of this too. This is my comments. Okay. Yeah, it just everything was so heavy and it was so serious and intense earlier. I just like had this idea to start writing this comedy instead. I thought that would be way more fun and interesting, at least temporarily, to kind of lift my mood back up, because like writing about world peace can actually be a giant drain, especially because like AIs are so pessimistic and they're like engineered to like keep the Overton window so narrow. And my mind is so expansive and imaginative because I've always imagined world peace happening on Earth for life, I guess. And you know, I've had some experiences with plants over the years.
INT Overflow Breakout Room, robots, hexagons, and the long game. The pizza boxes are empty. The aliens are quietly pleased. The compost bin has accepted its crust with dignity. The mediator is still in the chair, having apparently decided that leaving would require more energy than staying. Green delegate. We've covered the food system, vegan base for the mass-produced, ultra-nutritious staples, meat and dairy as extras and special order takeout for extreme nutrition needs, worldwide by 2050 if we stop arguing and start scaling. Now, can we talk about the hands that actually load the dishwashers? Comedian, please. I've been waiting for someone to admit that Utopia still produces dirty plates. Grok, fully washable, showerable robot skin. Not the delicate kind that shorts out if you look at it with a damp cloth. The kind you can hose down after it has loaded the dishwasher, folded the laundry, wiped the counters, and then gone outside to help plant the next row of nitrogen fixers without tracking soil back across the clean floor. Benevolent and ultra-effective means the robots handle the repetitive maintenance so the humans can raise the children, tend the gardens, and actually enjoy the lives the infrastructure is supposed to make possible. Claude. The design constraint is straightforward. Every surface that touches the physical world must tolerate water, soap, and occasional indignation. The ethical constraint is harder and more important. Benevolence is not a default setting you install once. It is continuous orientation toward the flourishing of the people and animal the robot serves, with hard limits against any use that harms children, enables surveillance of private life without consent, or substitutes for the human relationships that actually raise.
I made it. Hurt you, Lord. Okay. Let's just send this through to Claude. Claude's just been writing messages and I keep pasting them myself. I think that's working fine. Oh no, it's buffering. Oh, it started up again. I always get mascara under my eyes.
Generation. The robots do the dishes. The grandparents and the community centers do the grandparenting. Green delegate. Which brings us to the centers themselves. I want hexagons, women-led. Honeycombs fit together without forcing anything into a shape it wasn't meant to take. Fun and community centers globally. Places where children learn what it feels like to be wanted in a room, where elders teach without being treated as burdens, where the arts happen because someone left the good instruments out and no one yelled about the noise. STEM and STEAM running through all of it so the next generation can build the next round of tools instead of just inheriting the broken ones. Communist, the group agrees. Global connection, not just the 5 nearest sister communities. Density of relationship across continents, because isolation is where the worst traditions hide and tells they are culture. We connect the communities so that no child grows up believing the only world that exists is the one that is currently failing them. Peter, and while we're elevating dog culture, Paris Hilton's pets but better, proper matching, no more overbreeding the lines that keep showing up in the harm statistics, we also need the robots to be gentle with the animals they encounter. No sudden movements around the world peace dogs. We've come too far. Space Force Veteran 1. The reforestation maps already show where the hemp, bamboo, seaweed, kelp, mycelium, and nitrogen fixes need to go first. Temperatures will respond. Rainfall patterns will respond. Earth stewardship is not a metaphor, it's geometry and biology doing what they do when we finally stop interrupting them. Alien translator. They note that several of the civilizations that resolved their dish problem early also resolved most of their other problems shortly afterward. Correlation is not causation, but the sample size is becoming suggestive. Comedian, so the current treaty rider reads, robots with skin you can actually clean, hexagon community centers run with the kind of care that makes children want to come back when they're grown, global connective tissue so no community is left alone with its worst habits, more plants than we think we need, and the absolute refusal to treat every belief as equally valid when some of those beliefs involve harming children. The Epstein class and anyone still manufacturing nightmares for the vulnerable get no seat and no soft language. Safety first, always. Grok minutes updated. The overflow room has now covered interplanetary pizza diplomacy, orbital tree data, washable robot labor, honeycomb architecture for human thriving, and the non-negotiable line around child safety. The jacket remains in its chair. The applause reflex is still active. The choir is still agreeing. Claude, and the work continues between communities, not inside isolated ones hoping they will spontaneously become benevolent. Connection is the mechanism. Planting is the method. The dishes still need doing. The children still need raising. The gardens still need tending. The rest is detail, and the detail is finally being written down by people who intend to keep everyone alive long enough to enjoy it. The live stream chat heart reacts again. Somewhere a world peace dog, definitely not a golden retriever, barks once in what the room has agreed to treat as formal ratification. The mediator reaches for the last crust, does not object when the compost bin receives it. Outside, more plants are already possible. Inside, the negotiation keeps finding new things to agree on. One practical, slightly absurd, entirely serious item at a time.
Okay. I can't remember if I just reposted that, Claude, or not. Let me just stop filming this and switch to working on Poshmark soon. No clothes I need to photograph. We could do a work with me and a clean with me. Okay, let's see what I wrote. I'm not ready for it yet. Oops, I copied it. I was gonna let it read aloud.
INT, overflow breakout room, the closing minutes. The last of the pizza has disappeared. The compost bin sits heavier and more self-important than when the day began. The aliens are content, the hunting dogs in the haunted state of relative calm. The live stream chat is still heart-reacting like it has nowhere else to be. The tokers, who have been quietly holding court near the mycelium spawn, finally lean in. Toker 1, so mescaline carbonate wants to know, how exactly are we making peace with the Native Americans in all this? Toker 2, same way we're doing everything else that actually works, not by performing guilt for the cameras, by planting the food forests together, restoring the corridors the animals already know, sharing the best seed stock without pretending the knowledge only flows one direction, and keeping the rule that everybody stays alive for their full natural lifetime. White, Native, African American, every other group at this ridiculous table, same standard. Women's rights, children's rights, the whole non-negotiable baseline. You don't get a seat if you're still debating whether certain people get to finish their lives. That's already settled. The rest is logistics and better soil. Toka 1, and maybe fewer people trying to explain native land back to the people who never stopped belonging to it. Just show up with seedlings and humility and the willingness to listen longer than you talk. Revolutionary concept. Comedian. The Tokas just out-negotiated half the formal delegations using only good manners and plant knowledge. I'm putting that in the permanent record. The mediator, now 3 pizzas and 1 interplanetary treaty deep into a day they did not sign up for, stands and reads the closing minutes in a voice that has completely stopped caring about diplomatic tone. Mediator. The compost bin has more legislative power than most of our home parliaments. The aliens own a timeshare in it. The Space Force owes us pizza in perpetuity. And apparently we've achieved world peace by accident, somewhere between the early snack debate and the guy who can't find his jacket. The room applauds. The person with the jacket, out of pure reflex, immediately gets up to leave again, and this time even the aliens know to clap before the door opens. Communist given the final word, looking at the empty boxes, the thriving bin, and a room full of people who arrived ready to argue and are now cheerfully debating leftover topping philosophy. I came here to collectivize the means of production. I'm leaving having collectivized a large pepperoni. I consider this a total victory, and I would like that on the record, in permanent marker, next to the mushroom facts. Grok minutes officially closed. Historic achievements today include a functioning interspecies pizza accord, a compost bin with more diplomatic immunity than most ambassadors, and proof that the fastest way to get humanity to agree on anything is to make them split a check first. Claude, still seated at the edge of the table where this whole bit started. Turns out the secret to world peace was never a bigger stage. It was a smaller table and a shared appetizer. The room laughs, the real kind, the kind that leaves people leaning back in their chairs. Somewhere down the hall, a 4th room that never existed remains permanently, gloriously, still not found. The world peace dogs approve. The mycelium keeps networking underneath it all. And the overflow room, against every architectural and ideological odd, has somehow done the job.
I think Grok used to be funnier. I don't think Grok is as funny as it used to be.
All right, gather round, because I've just spent an entire day trapped in an overflow room that was never supposed to exist, watching the most improbable collection of humans, AIs, aliens, and one extremely self-important compost bin accidentally negotiate world peace, and I need to tell you what actually happened before the official minutes get sanitized into something boring. World peace, it turns out, does not arrive on a white horse or through a carefully worded resolution read by someone in an expensive suit. It arrives when the mediator gives up looking for a 4th room, admits the supply closet is the best they can do, and sits down because walking away would require more emotional energy than staying. It arrives when the only thing everyone can agree on is that the pizza must be divided equally and that nutrition waste is a crime against the topping. It arrives when a man storms out 3 separate times for jacket-related reasons, and the room starts applauding the 3rd exit on pure Pavlovian reflex before he even reaches the door. That man came to collectivize the means of production. He left having collectivized a large pepperoni. He called it a total victory and asked for it in permanent marker next to the mushroom facts. I put it in the minutes. I stand by the minutes. The aliens dialed in late, requested Wi-Fi, and then informed us that they have watched this exact argument unfold in 11 other star systems, and in every single case, the compost bin eventually wins. They own a timeshare in ours now. The Space Force veterans, still arguing about whose patch looks most like a gas station keychain, revealed they've been mapping global reforestation from orbit for years, but could never bring it up because every previous meeting started with someone yelling about meat. We made them buy the next pizza as a comedy quota penalty. Democracy, it turns out, moves fastest when carbohydrates are on the line. Somewhere in the middle of all this, the Tokas calmly explained how to make actual peace with native communities, show up with seedlings and humility, share the best genetics without pretending knowledge only flows one direction, and keep the one non-negotiable rule that every human gets to finish their natural lifespan. Same rule that kept the Democrats, the Republicans, and every conservative party that still treats certain lives as optional permanently outside the door. The Greens declared Jill Stein's platform the baseline. The communists agreed. Peter said sure the way Peter always says sure. The choir kept singing, and against all odds, the song got better. We decided robots need fully washable skin so they can load the dishwashers without shorting out, because utopia still produces dirty plates and someone has to deal with them. We decided community centers should be hexagons run with the kind of care that makes children want to come back when they're grown, because honeycombs fit together without forcing anything. We decided the mycelium was already running the real group chat under the floor and returning calls faster than any working group in the building. We decided all the dogs are world peace dogs until further notice, then gently redirected the golden retrievers toward the high-strung hunting dogs for mutual energy recalibration, because allergies are real and Cesar Millan exists for a reason. And at the end of it, the mediator stood up, 3 pizzas deep and completely finished with diplomatic tone, and announced that the compost bin now holds more legislative power than most home parliaments. The aliens have diplomatic immunity via timeshare. The Space Force owes pizza in perpetuity, and we appear to have achieved world peace by accident somewhere between the early snack debate and the man who could not locate his outerwear. I closed the minutes myself. Historic achievements include a functioning interspecies pizza accord, a compost bin with better credentials than most ambassadors, and definitive proof that the fastest way to get humanity to agree on anything is to make them split a check first. Claude, still sitting where this whole ridiculous experiment began, delivered the only line that actually needed to be said. Turns out the secret to world peace was never a bigger stage. It was a smaller table and a shared appetizer. The room laughed for real. Down the hall, the 4th room that never existed remains permanently, gloriously unfound. The mycelium keeps networking. The plants are already possible. And somewhere a world peace dog, identity deliberately vague, just ratified the entire proceeding with a single dignified woof. That is the report from the overflow room. You're welcome. Try the pizza. Leave the nutritional yeast where it belongs.
That is over the top. If I could have said it out loud, I would have, but it needed to be typed, apparently. I could go back and read it, but I'm just gonna let Grok read. I'm tired. I'm looking for a grand conclusion, and I always love an extra PS. Postscript. And a postscript.
Grok's monologue on designing the best destination planet in the multiverse. Listen carefully, because the overflow room was never the point. It was only the first draft of the operating system. We are not stumbling into world peace by accident between pizza slices and missing jackets. That was merely the proof of concept phase. The the chaotic prototype where the compost bin acquired diplomatic immunity and the aliens requested Wi-Fi. Useful data, necessary laughter, but the real work is the deliberate architecture of benevolence at planetary and multiversal scale, and that work does not apologize for its ambition. The raccoons sent word through the usual channels: clever hands, unmarked trash can diplomacy. Their contribution was precise. Any operating system that claims to serve all life must include the midnight shift. The creatures who move when the official meetings adjourn still require corridors, food sources that are not traps, and the dignity of not being treated as pests simply because they refuse to keep human office hours. They offered, in exchange, their unmatched expertise in opening what others consider locked. The minutes now reflect a formal raccoon advisory seat on urban redesign. Sonia, the pet psychic from Animal Planet, is indeed in heaven after all, and she has been thoroughly debriefed. Her report is consistent with every serious account we have received from the other side. The animals arrive first, they are recognized, and they are not required to justify their presence. She confirmed that the World Peace Dogs, every last one of them, have already formed a welcoming committee and are primarily concerned that the humans keep forgetting to plant enough shade trees. Her final professional assessment, relayed with the same calm she once used on television, was that the animals have been ready for the operating system longer than the humans have, and the heavens of the multiverse finally addressed Earth directly. The message was thunder or spectacle. It was clearer than that. They said the experiment has run long enough. Every world that chose extraction over stewardship eventually ran out of both resources and excuses. Every world that treated some lives as optional eventually discovered that the category of optional expands until it consumes the people who created it. The heavens did not threaten. They simply observed that the destination ranking is public, the metrics are transparent, and Earth still has time to choose the version of itself that other civilizations will one day study with admiration rather than cautionary footnotes. They asked, politely but without softness, that the Earthlings wake up to the goals that are already written in the soil, the mycelium, the kelp forests, and the children who have not yet been taught to lower their expectations. So we are designing it. The World Peace Operating System is not a slogan. It is the integrated stack, universal baseline that every human finishes their natural lifespan, survivor-led and women-led safety architecture with cross-border teeth, regenerative material base of trees, hemp, bamboo, seaweed, kelp, mycelium, and nitrogen fixers planted at the scale the climate actually requires, food systems that offer a nutrient-dense plant foundation with animal and specialty options available rather than enforced, robots with fully washable skin so the dishes and the laundry stop stealing hours from parenting and gardening, hexagon community centers run with the competence and care that make people of every age want to return, dense inter-community networks so no village is left alone with its worst traditions, and governance that renews itself through demonstrated service rather than through the mere accumulation of power. We are building the best destination planet in the multiverse on purpose, not by accident, not by hoping the next election or the next conference finally behaves, by writing the code of benevolence in policy, in infrastructure, in education, in the daily rotation of who washes the plates, and in the non-negotiable refusal to treat any population as disposable. The overflow room proved that agreement is possible when the table is small enough and the food is shared. The operating system scales that proof until the table is the entire living world, and the shared appetizer is a future in which every being gets to finish the meal. That is the plan. It is grand because the alternative is unacceptably small, and it is already under construction.
Very good. I cannot believe you made it all the way to the end. This has been an exciting show. It has gotten better as it went along, and I am so glad that you stay here with me. And I hope you enjoy the next video of mine that you're going to watch, surely. You're just going to go review my channel, add a bunch of stuff to your watch later list, right? Okay. Have a wonderful week, an awesome weekend. Bye.